Welcome to Peaking to Success, the podcast that delves deep into our guest success stories, the highs, the lows, the lessons learned, and if there's any exciting future plans lined up. Talking about future plans, Peaking into Success is proudly supported by Peak Wills and Estate Planning. We're here to support you with any future planning. Long gone are the times of solicitors in suits and ties and dark rooms and outdated practices. We are proud to offer a fresh and dynamic approach to the stuffy old world of wills, changing the way we talk about what happens when we die. But that's enough talk about death on a podcast introduction. It's time to pass you over to Peaking into Success host, Mr. Adam Kahn. Whose success are we peeking into this episode, Adam?
Thanks, Sam. Today we've got on an ex-professional footballer who has gone through clubs such as Derby as well as Newport and has now released a book because of retiring at the age of 27 and having 2 operations on his heart valve. He's released a book about his journey from professional football, having the operations, and what he's now doing. So please welcome on Mark OBrien. Hi Mark, how are we today?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks. Things are going okay for myself. What about yourself?
Yeah, really good, thank you. And it's good to get you on. I know you've got kind of an event on tomorrow, haven't you, at the Bell and Castle and stuff like that. So I bet you've got quite a busy week with that and the book as well, that we'll get on to talk about in a bit.
Yeah, the event tomorrow should be really good. As I said, I'm looking forward just to kind of getting out there that little bit more and getting to share my book and basically the life that I've had, really. So it's always good to be able to do stuff like this and just give people more of an insight to myself than I ever could before.
No, 100%. For people that may have just stumbled onto this and maybe don't know who you are, how would you sum yourself up quickly in a nutshell?
I'd say, in a nutshell, that I'm someone who moved away from football at the age of 15, and I had a roller coaster of a life for, I'd say, 11 or 12 years with 2 open heart surgeries and a professional football career.
So, of course, you mentioned about the roller coaster of a journey and kind of how we started. I mean, as people can tell from your accent, that you're from Ireland. So how did the kind of career start with moving over from Ireland to, of course, you moved over to Derby. How did that happen? And, of course, what was the kind of cultural change, I guess, because, of course, you're uplifting all of your life at an early age?
Yeah, so, I was playing football in Dublin, and I was playing for my local team, Cherry Orchard. So it's one of those things where scouts come and watch games, and obviously they pick out players that they want to go over and go on trial for their club. And I was doing really well in Ireland. I was playing for the young Ireland ages. I was captain of Cherry Orchard, and I was doing quite well. And Derby took an interest in me, and they asked me to fly over for a trial. And when I ended up flying over, I just loved every minute of it. And in all fairness, I think Derby enjoyed having me there. They said I'd done really well. So it was one of those things that it was wherever I felt most comfortable, I wanted to be. And once I went to Derby, it was a no-brainer for me. It was something where it just felt like a home from home. So there wasn't really much of a, say, cultural change, because I just wanted to look for somewhere that was actually really suits me and really I felt comfortable in, and Derby was that place. And once I flew away and I knew I had the opportunity to play football every single day, and I had an opportunity to try and make a career for myself, it was nothing to me. It was literally, there was no homesickness. It was something I was more excited about than I was anything else. So I think to get to move to Derby, and the people in the place and the staff at the time, the players, everybody, I just felt like I was at home straight away. So there wasn't any kind of time to settle. I felt settled straight away.
No, perfect. And I mean, you came through kind of for a brief period through the youth system at Derby, as well as, of course, kind of working internationally as well for Republic of Ireland. And then, of course, we hit 2009, which I assume for you was a bit of a roller coaster with, of course, getting Player of the Year and then, of course, having to undergo the first operation for your heart surgery. So how was that for you at a young age?
Yeah, it was quite difficult. Like, again, that first year in itself was a roller coaster. I flew over at 15 and I made my debut for Derby at the age of 16 by the end of that year. So that in itself was a roller coaster for all the right reasons. Like, everything happened so quickly and went in the perfect scenario for me. But I believe that when I had to go through the open heart surgery the season after that, it was quite difficult because I got told from a doctor that I potentially might never play again, or that I shouldn't play again. And when I get told that after making my debut, I didn't really know how to take it. It felt like a situation of, you can't be talking to me, like that. This news can't be happening to me. And it was something where, being 16 and very naive at the time, it was something where it didn't really affect me too much. I just wanted to know, can I play football again? And that was the only question that I asked the doctor was, can I play football again? And when it was something that the doctor said there was like a slight glimmer of hope, there was a slight chance that I might play again, but he said professionally probably will never happen again. I just wanted to give it everything that I could possible. So I went for my open heart surgery in the October of 2009. And by 2010, I think it was March, April time, I was back playing football again, and I just couldn't be happier. So, like, it was quite difficult to take, but I just never gave up on the hope of being able to try and fulfill my dream and play football again. And that was the only thing that kind of drove me to get back to any sort of fitness, was the fact of, this is all I want to do, and I'm going to give it everything that I can possible to do that.
Was the rehabilitation process hard from coming back from the surgery, or did you find it, with the determination that you said that you had to play again for, like, at a professional level, did that kind of make the process easier, or was it still quite dark and grueling to kind of get through back to that high level?
I'd say it was probably the latter of that. It was very dark and it was very hard. Like I was like starting from the beginning again of fitness. Like I had to start like basically learning to walk at a long distance, and then once I could walk at a long distance, I'd have to start jogging again, and everything was just a very, very slow process. Like, I was jogging in the snow with the fitness coach. I was like doing offset sessions by myself. I wasn't able to train properly for a long time, and there was certain times that I thought that this isn't going to happen, because I just didn't feel like I was going anywhere. But the turning point was, I was doing a lot of fitness work with the fitness coach at the time, Steve Haynes, and he was somebody that just kept me going and kept me going and kept me going. And Derby as a club, like Neil Sullivan, who was the physio, kept me going. And all these people, like, just, they never gave up on me, because there was times where I just felt as though I was going nowhere. And it was when we went back to the hospital done a fitness test with me to see where I was at, to see how I was going. And they said I was miles ahead of where I should be. And that gave me that little boost to think, right, I have gotten somewhere. Like, for my own standard of fitness to try and play football, I didn't feel I was close. But actual fitness for day-to-day life, I was actually miles ahead of where I should have been. So it gave me that little bit of confidence to think, right, just keep on going and keep on going. And it was something that, just because of that love of football that I had, there was just going to be no stopping me. And I just kept myself going day after day, doing longer jogs, shorter jogs, started doing gym sessions again. And it was like one big process that I just had to keep following and believing in. And I'm glad that I had the people around me as well that believed that I could do it. And as I've said before, it was something that was very, very difficult. But once I kind of got the rewards of being able to be back on a pitch, playing for Derby's under 18s, and then playing for the reserves, and then making the bench for the first team at the end of that season, it was something where all of paid off a little bit, and I thought, right, now that I'm back on the pitch, now I can kick on and just be back to myself again. I can just be Mark, who moved away from football all those years ago, and this is what I want. So I could get me focused back to being a footballer again, rather than just someone who's doing rehab and may never play again. So I was able to kind of put that to one side and carry on with my career.
Brilliant. And I mean, as you said, of course, getting back onto the bench and going through kind of under-18s reserves again, would you say kind of your pinnacle at Derby was the 2011-2012 season, where, of course, you made 21 appearances, you were kind of a big core member of that squad for that championship season? Do you feel like that was your moment where you kind of cemented yourself in and was like, yeah, I'm back to full fitness, I'm back to doing what I want to do at the highest level?
Yeah, like it was that season, because I remember I done really well in the pre-season, and it was the first game of the season against Birmingham at home. And Russell Anderson, who was the centre-back at the time, got injured 30 minutes into the game, and Nigel Clough had a lot of trust in me and put me straight into the team. And still only being 18, I felt as though I've been around football a long time. It was like 3 years of still me being at Derby. So it was one of those situations where that season in itself just... It was the season I was hoping for. Like, obviously, take away the injury that happened, but that season was like you say, it was that kind of moment of thinking, right, this is me now. Now I can kind of kick on, and this is my career, this is my life, and this is always what I wanted to do. And I was living my dream, and everything just felt amazing. And there was no kind of doubt in my mind. There was nothing to do with my heart. There was nothing to do with anything else. I was actually living out my dream to what I wanted to do. And I like that season itself was unbelievable for me on a personal aspect to get to play 21 games in the championship at the age of 18. Like I was living the dream. And obviously it was unfortunate around the Christmas time to get an ACL injury, but at the same time I was not kind of set back by anything. I was just kind of always pushing forward, and I was always with a strong mentality of always thinking, well, do you know what, if I can make it back from open heart surgery, I can make it back from anything. And that's where my mindset kind of flipped to a lot of situations where the open heart surgery really kind of structured me for my whole career. It kind of made me very determined in a lot of different situations, that no matter how low I got with injuries, and no matter how far I was into a season and things weren't quite going my way, I just never had it in me to give up. And that was just something that was instilled into me from very young.
Nice. And I mean, you mentioned the ACL there, and of course the rehabilitation for that would have been a long time. What kind of happened at Derby afterwards is, of course, you didn't ever really get back into the squad. So was it kind of of course there was manager changes in that as well, but did you find it quite hard to break back into the team from that?
Yeah, it was difficult, because when I got back from the ACL, I was back training again. I played a couple of more games. I think I played another 10 more games, and I was finding myself really struggling with my knee, because my knee kept swelling up, and I never really knew why after I done the rehab for my ACL. And when my knee kept swelling up, we had to go re-scan it and found out that I had a microfracture in the same knee. So that in itself was quite difficult to take, because I spent 10 months out of the game the season before, and then I got back the next season after that, and finding out that I had a microfracture after doing all the rehab that I'd done, it was very demoralising to take. It was something that I didn't really know what to make of it. So I carried on playing with my knee keeping it swelling up. And I ended up having to have a second knee operation, which then in that time of the second knee operation was the change of manager, the change of footballing style, the change of group and everything. So I found maybe it was the microfracture after the ACL that kind of cemented my faith at Derby that maybe there wasn't an opportunity to get back. Like, I was never going to give up on the idea of ever playing for Derby again. But I started to learn what football was. Football is something that never really stops for anybody. It just keeps on moving and keeps on moving, and it doesn't wait around. So you kind of have to just make the best of a bad situation. And I just took on board a lot. When I wasn't playing under Steve McLaren at the time, I took on a lot to try and better myself, that when the time came, and if the time came that I had to move on from Derby, that it was something that I was going to be prepared for. But it was a difficult thing to not get back playing as fully as I wanted to for Derby, because it was a club that means a lot to me. It's a club that stuck by me through probably one of the most difficult times in my life, and I owe Derby as a club and Noisy Clough as a manager everything. But it was one of them things that it wasn't meant to be, and you kind of have to just find your feet again and move on from it.
So, of course, that's where the loan came in to Motherwell, where, of course, you then crept your appearances up. Of course, you got 21 appearances, 19 starts that season. So, of course, with that kind of the revitalisation and the kind of revamp as you got over 2 injuries and a operation, you're kind of back to your best, did you feel then? Or did you still feel funny about your knee at that point?
I wouldn't say I felt back to my best. I think Motherwell was something where it was a complete new change for me. That was probably more of a shock to my system going up to Motherwell, because all I knew was Derby. All I knew was a place I was comfortable, I was happy. It felt like a home from home. So it felt like I was leaving home again when I had to leave Derby, because it was something that was unknown to me, to go and play for a different team, new different teammates, all these different aspects of football. And I really enjoyed my time in Scotland and met some really, really great people, like some friends for life and stuff like that up there. But it was something where I was finding my feet again, I would say, at Motherwell. I was kind of some games good, some games weren't too great, and I was literally finding my feet again after 2 serious knee operations. So it was something where I didn't really know if Motherwell was going to work out for me. They had a change of manager at the same time up in Motherwell, so that was another hurdle I had to overcome. But it was something where I enjoyed my time there. I enjoyed the people that were up there, and it got me an opportunity to get back playing games again, which is all that I wanted, which is the main reason why I moved away from Ireland at such a young age. So I think when I got an opportunity to actually play, I took it with both hands. And as I said, it didn't really quite work out over a whole season. But it was something where I was happy for myself that I was actually back playing football again.
Nice. And I mean, you did get a lot of appearances that season, and then of course the move to Luton came in. How kind of did that come around, the move to Luton? Is that something you had a choice in, or was it kind of Derby were like, this is the best option for you?
It was more to the point, I was into my last season at Derby when I was at Motherwell, so I didn't really have a club once I left Motherwell. My time at Derby was finished. Motherwell didn't want to re-sign me, so it was kind of one of those things where Luton came about because the Luton manager came up to watch a player in Scotland that was playing against Motherwell, and I was playing in that game, and the manager took a liking to me. So I flew back to Ireland not knowing if I had a club, not knowing what I was going to do next. But luckily enough for me, the Luton manager took an interest in me, and then I had the opportunity to fly to Luton and go on trial there, and I loved every minute of it. Like, it was another kind of learning curve in football, to kind of, you never really know who's watching in a stadium, you never really know who's coming to watch games, and it was a massive learning curve to kind of always know to try and be at your best at all times, because being at best at your all times got me an opportunity to Luton. But once I ended up going there, I didn't really know anybody, but I loved every minute of it. Like, I ended up settling in there with some very, very good people. Like Steve McNulty, who was the captain at the time, was someone who became a really good friend. He looked after me really well, and the squad in itself, like Paddy McCourt, it was somebody who, like, I've obviously known of from when he played at Celtic. He was like up there with probably some of the best people that I've met in football, and stuff like that just went a long way with me, where I felt so much more settled. And my time at Luton wasn't great when the manager changed over. And I know nearly every club that I go at, a manager changes over, so it's like I'm getting a lot of people to sack here. But there was another manager change, and that manager obviously showed me the harsh and horrible side of football that I didn't really ever think would happen to me. But it was this very steep learning curve that I'm kind of grateful that I had, but I'd never want to go through it again.
No, and I mean, during that time at Luton, you had 2 loans out to Southport, so kind of how was that dropping down to, of course, National League, and kind of what was the difference between kind of a league club and a non-league club, if that makes sense?
It was difficult because sometimes you have to have a little battle with your own ego at the same time, because I can look at myself and think, well, you know what, I've played at Derby County, I've played at Motherwell in the SPL, I've played at Luton in League 2. Like, I don't want to play in the conference. I don't want to drop down to that level. But I also had to strip it all back and realise that I moved away from Ireland to play football. I didn't move away for a status, and I didn't move away for to think I was bigger or better than I was. I moved away to play football, and when I actually stripped it all back and realised that I would have went anywhere to play. And the fact that Southport gave me the opportunity to play when the Luton manager wouldn't give me any chance to play, it meant a lot to me. And Southport were going through a difficult time at that time. And just to be involved in that, to try and give a helping hand, to try and play 7 games within a month, like just to be back feeling like myself again. Like you say, you go back to feeling like a kid again, that I'm back playing football and I'm happy, and that's all that I cared about. And if I never went to Southport, well, then I would have never ended up at Newport, because the manager of Southport at the time became assistant manager at Newport. So, like, football is a funny game sometimes, that you do make certain sacrifices or you take certain chances, and sometimes it always comes back around and it rewards you. And I feel as though my move to Southport rewarded me that way, an opportunity to come to Newport.
And I mean, at Newport, you got the most appearances in your career with, of course, 103 over 4 seasons. And of course, you became captain at Newport. So kind of, how was that kind of getting regular game time over multiple seasons, as well as, of course, them being given the captain's armband?
Yeah, look, I've loved every minute at Newport. Newport, the only way that I was actually able to describe it to people is that Newport felt like Derby County. It felt like a home from home. It felt like somewhere I could settle. I could be myself. I could get on with my football. I wouldn't have to worry about anything, and I was happy. And that's all that I ever worried or cared about once I'd moved away, was where am I going to be, where I'm happy. And Newport gave me that opportunity to come in off the back of a really bad time at Luton. They took a chance on me, and I was happy, and more than happy, to repay that by playing as best as I could, to do the things that I've achieved at Newport, to kind of go down in the history books of loads of different things and different reasons. And I just look at my time at Newport being like some of the best times in my career, like probably up there with the best times in my career. And that is something that's the reason why I still to this day work at Newport. I still work for them, because I want to see the club be successful. I want to see the club go from strength to strength. I want to be part of that, and I want to just see this place be where I feel as though it can be, with that little bit more of it backing and different things like that. And it's just something that, like you say, when you feel that comfortable at a place, or you feel happy at somewhere, that sometimes overrides any other feeling in football. Like, being happy and being settled is something that should never be taken for granted, because sometimes in football it can bite you in the backside, let's say, that if you try and go somewhere for all the wrong reasons, then it can come back and bite you. Whereas when you go somewhere on the basis of where you're happiest, you play your best football, I believe.
No, 100%. And I mean, you went through 4 seasons, as I said earlier, and then, of course, 2020 comes around and you get the news that, of course, you need to have another operation on the same one as the same thing as before. Kind of, did you come to the decision of retiring? Because, of course, as you've said throughout this, you just wanted to be that boy that's come over and played. So, kind of, how did the decision come about, and how kind of did it feel for you to try and start a life without football?
That decision came about when I was 16, believe it or not. When I had the choices of operation at 16, I had the choice of a metallic valve, which meant I'd never play football again, or I got told I could have a pigskin valve, which would give me an opportunity to try and play football. So I ended up opting for the pigskin valve. But when I was 16, I've always said that I was going to give one operation. I was going to give one operation for my football career, and the next operation, whenever that might have been, I was always going to give it for my life. And once I found out that my valve was leaking again, once I found out that it was quite bad, I knew there and then that I had to retire. Like, there was never a kind of doubt to think, am I going to finish off my career? Do I want to? Like, there was more in my mind than just my football career at that time. As much as I found it so difficult at the beginning, even still to this day, I find it difficult not to play football. But I think even if I had retired at a normal age of 35, 40 or whatever it might have been, I still would have found it difficult not to play football again. And I think I just look at it differently now that I've had a head start on a lot of people who still have to go through retirement, and I have a head start on people that have to go through all that different side of stuff. And that's just something where at the time of retirement, it was really difficult. I didn't really know what to do with myself. But again, Newport as a club stuck by me through it all, and gave me a job and kept me involved in football, which is something that is the closest thing I'm going to get to playing. So with it being the closest thing that I'm going to get to playing, well, then I'm going to enjoy it for the most that I can, and I'm going to explore different things. And I have been exploring different things with the book that's come out. I've done some commentary for Newport games. I've gone and done some speaking in front of groups of people about my journey and how it can help other people, and just loads of different avenues that I never really knew I probably would have been capable of doing. I'm just enjoying doing all that now, and that transition coming out of football was and still is very difficult, but it's something where I have my mind fixed on other things now, and I have my mind set on there is a life after football, and there are different things to do after football. It's not just football, and then now all of a sudden I don't have a life anymore, because I'm only 30 years of age, and being 30 years of age, that's literally still the beginning of your life. So I'm not going to get in the mindset of thinking that my life is over, whereas I'm just in the mindset of thinking my life is only just starting.
No, that's 100% true, and you kind of showing there is a life after football. Of course, I'm going to now ask you about what the kind of plan is at the moment. So, of course, you've said you're still connected with Newport and the commentary and everything, but kind of the book, how did that come about, and why should people pick up the book, if that makes sense?
Well, basically, like, the book came about was I went and done a talk in Derby with fans on an evening, and Blake Fallows, who was someone that became a really good friend of mine, we were having a conversation, and he was telling me about he knows of somebody who wanted to be at the evening but couldn't make it, but they were obviously people who do a book, and I told them just to put my name forward and see what they come back with. And that kind of just snowballed into then getting in touch with somebody, then finding out about the book, and then just going for it. Like, my mind always told me that nobody would ever want to, and I think it's that, like, what everybody gets. I think I had my own thoughts telling me that nobody would want to read my life, nobody would want to know my book, nobody would want to know about me. Like, why would anybody want to read about me? And I just thought, well, you know what, like, it'll be a good achievement for myself to have it all out in a book, just to kind of justify everything that I went through and be proud of everything I've gone through. And the whole process of the book was actually quite, like, I loved it. It was like a therapy just as much as anything else, because I was able to express myself, go back over great memories of Derby and different games I've played in, and go back through great memories of Army football and the games that I've been part of. And then on the flip side of that, it was difficult at times to go through some of the tough times that I've gone through and some of the tough periods that I've had. And that was something that, as I said, it was a rewarding thing to do. But I think people should pick up the book, because it's a football life that I don't think many people read about. It's something that, it's not just a footballing book. I know there's a lot of football in it, but I don't think it's a footballing book. I think it's something that a lot of people can take away from it, that who have gone through some dark times, where I've gone through some really tough times with me mental health, just as much, with panic attacks, depression, health anxieties, all these different things that affect people on a day-to-day basis. And it's just something just to kind of a little eye opener to people of what can happen if you just don't give up on yourself, if you don't kind of give in to certain things, and you constantly try and seek some level of help somewhere along the way. That little small level of help, or that little kind of inner strength for yourself to not give up, will always turn your life around at some way, or in some form. It will change your life and turn you around. And that's what I want my life story to be, something that can hopefully help or change somebody's life.
No, 100%. And I mean, with the book and what you said about Blake helping you out, of course, he's hosting your event tomorrow, isn't he? To kind of, would you say that's kind of to market the book more, or have you done anything to market it kind of to the masses? As of course, as you've said, it is a story that should be heard, and kind of it's got the ups and downs, and it's kind of the picking yourself back up when you're down kind of story. So what have you done to get the message out there?
To get the message out there, like trying to put on evenings like tomorrow, and trying going through social media and just post about it sometimes, and post about it a little bit more, and seek other people to try and help promote it, and to get it out there for a lot of other people. So I've tried to contact so many people, and again, I've had a lot of response on it, that people have been openly helping me with it. And it's been amazing that, like you say, you think that you're going to be out there on your own, and you don't think anybody wants to help you, whereas you kind of open your mouth and ask for that help. Like, I'm always that believer of now that the more you speak, the more you can receive, just because of asking a simple question or asking for some help. Like, it's not seen as a weakness. It's a strength that I think we all have, to be able to speak that little bit more and ask for that little bit of help when we do need it. And I think the more that I've been able to reach out to people, the more that people have opened their arms to try and help me. As I said, I'm just constantly driven to try and make it as best as I can, because I do believe that my kind of life story in some sort of way, whether it's open heart surgery for somebody else or whether it's something else for somebody else, I think we all feel the same thing. So I feel as though my story or my life can potentially, somebody could read and it could resonate with them that little bit more, where it might give them that little bit of boost that they might have needed. And that's just the way that I see it being, and that's the way that I want it to be. And again, as I say, it's just through social medias and different things that I'm trying to push it as much as possible. But I have gone down different routes of podcasts. I've gone down different routes of trying to get on the news and trying to get on the telly and all these different things, stuff that is alien to me for this kind of walk of life. But it's something I'm enjoying doing, and it's something that I know you have to be patient with, because in football you want everything done by yesterday. You don't want to have to sit and wait around, whereas now you kind of have to have that patience. And like I said, it's all a big learning curve for me, but I'm enjoying every minute of it.
No, perfect. And I mean, with how well you're speaking now, it just shows that you are passionate about the book, and you're passionate about everything you do, and you're kind of taking it in your stride, which is amazing. And hopefully the book inspires other people to kind of be themselves. And of course, as you said, asking for help, no one enjoys it, and especially in this kind of era of social media, people struggle to kind of find something to relate to, whereas this story is relatable not for being a footballer but many other avenues as well, whether it be an injury or having an operation. It's relatable in so many ways, so it should be something that people are looking out for in the shops or looking out for online, and reading and understanding that kind of get back up when you're down story. Of course, with all your knowledge that you have, is there kind of one piece of advice that you would give to younger people that may be starting out in football or maybe struggling at a certain time and needing that kind of pick-me-up? What would your piece of advice be for them?
I think there's only so many pieces of advice that I always stick to, even for myself, is just to the fact of you don't give up on yourself. I think everybody finds it easy to be able to kind of just throw the towel in and just say, no, this isn't for me, and give up at the first sign of adversity. But I think when you're facing that adversity, I think what people misunderstand of it is that it's there to make you that stronger person for that next chapter, for that next part of your life. And if it wasn't for, in my example, if it wasn't for my open heart surgery at 16, I don't think I maybe would have got back from the ACL. I wouldn't have got back from all the other different setbacks that I had along the way. So my first taste of adversity was the open heart surgery. And that moulded me in a stronger position because I made it back and never gave up. And I think that no matter what adversity you come and face, or whatever setback you come face, facing it head on is only going to put you in a stronger position for your future. So for whatever piece of advice I could give, it's always to the point of find an avenue that will suit yourself, but just don't give up on it, because the not giving up on it is the part that will, and even if you have setbacks along the way, it is going to put you in a stronger position at some stage in your life where you think to yourself, and you'll look back and think, I'm glad I didn't give up at this point because it's put me in this position. And I'm glad I didn't give up then because I wouldn't be as strong to deal with then than what I can now. And it's just it's easier said than done. But I think if you do find yourself struggling and you can't think of anything other than giving up, well, then that's where you open your mouth that little bit more and you speak up that little bit more. And you ask for that helping hand, because asking for a helping hand is still another source of you helping yourself, because you're still not giving up. Whereas people think asking for help is giving up. I think asking for help is still you helping yourself. So I always just believe that whatever way you might be feeling or whatever setback you get, you just don't give up on it, and you chase down every last avenue, because if it's something you really want, you can be successful in it.
No, 100%. And I mean, that should be a piece of advice that anyone trying to break through or at any point in their life should take with open arms and kind of understand, especially about their seeking help. Is, of course, there's a lot of mental health and a lot that has kind of come to the surface since COVID, where, of course, that's kind of when your retirement took place, kind of during that uncertainty around that area of time. So, I mean, a lot of people should take, the wisdom that you've given there as kind of a stepping stone to push on, maybe seek that help as well as not giving up. So no, I 100% agree with that. We'll kind of go back onto you and kind of your career now. So is there a career high or a biggest achievement that you can kind of see for yourself since being around Derby and going through different leagues as well as internationally? Is there anything that you see as the biggest achievement for yourself?
I'd say I have a couple of big achievements for myself. I think getting to play at Derby, I think, was a massive achievement for me. I loved playing at that level of football. I loved playing at Derby, at such a big club like themselves. I think getting Ireland under 16 Player of the Year, because it was only 2 years previous to that, my own brother won Ireland under 16 Player of the Year. And then 10 years previous to that, my cousin won Ireland under 16 Player of the Year. So it was in the family. So I had like a crowd to follow, so I kind of had to win it. But I think just actually fulfilling a football career is my proudest moment, and my proudest achievement is the fact of I didn't kind of sit and want that kind of pity story the way I seen it. I didn't want that. I wanted just to be treated as Mark the footballer, Mark that has had a football career, and I can look back and be proud of everything that I've achieved in my career. But as a whole, I think just having a career was an achievement for me. And the stuff in between that, getting to play at Celtic Park, I think scoring my first ever EFL goal for Newport County, and that goal saving them from relegation, getting to captain a team to Wembley, getting to play in the 5th round of an FA Cup with Newport. Like there's so many different achievements that I've had along the way that it's difficult just to pick out one. But if I had to give an answer, it would just have to be the fact of having a football career is a proud achievement for me, and something that will live with me forever.
No, 100%. Loads of people say when they're younger, I want to be a footballer, and not many actually make it as a professional. So for you to do that, that is amazing. You did slightly nick my next question of being, what is the best stadium you played at? Is it Celtic Park, or have you got another one in mind?
I think Celtic Park was good for like Irish reasons. I think just getting to play there, like you grow up supporting Celtic as well as an English team when you're in Ireland. So to get to play there was amazing. Obviously getting to play at Wembley was unbelievable. Loved playing there, and I always remember my first sellout stadium to ever play in was Pride Park. There was 34,000. We played Southampton at home, and it was in that 2011-2012 season, and we were top of the league the first 5 games of the season, and we were playing against Southampton at home, and hearing Pride Park fully like filled out, the capacity, the levels, the noise, it was like surreal. It was an unbelievable feel. And then to play in a local derby against Nottingham Forest, when it was at the City ground for Forest, and when I was at Pride Park, getting to play in both of them games, an atmosphere like that, I don't know, I've always been kind of a person that loves an atmosphere when it's not a nice atmosphere, like where you have that bit of tension, you have that bit of kind of, I'd say, like rivalry between it. Like that kind of atmosphere is something that I used to love and used to try and thrive in, and I don't think I got a bigger one than one when I played in the Nottingham derby. So I absolutely love that.
No, amazing. And I mean, it's nice that you've mentioned Pride Park.
Yeah.
Of course, you played with a lot of good players, and against a lot of good players. So who's the best person you think you played with and against?
I think when we played against Manchester City, I could say that our whole 1 to 11. That was like the most difficult team to ever play against, I think. But the one who stuck out in that was David Silva. I know he's not a striker, but just playing against somebody like him, he was just world class. Like there was no getting close to him. There was no getting near him. He was just. It was like there was 10 of him out there. There was just no getting anywhere near him. So it would be him. But I think the best player I've played with, there's so many players that I've played alongside as a defender. I think I can always look at Richard Keogh. I've played alongside Jason Shackle, 2 centre backs that were there at the beginning of my career that helped me a lot, who taught me a lot. One player that I never even got to play with was Sean Barker, but he helped me a lot off the field and really looked after me. And then at Newport, the centre-back who I played 4 years with, Mickey Demetrio, was someone that I look at and say, probably as a centre-back partnership, me and him just clicked. I think we had everything. We could defend. he was better on the ball than me sometimes. But I would just literally think that we just clicked as a centre-back partnership. And when you get that feel when you're playing alongside someone that on and off the field, you just get along, that everything just clicked together, and we got success because of it. And I think if I had to say, I'd probably say he's probably up there with one of the best centre-backs that I've played alongside for a partnership.
100% for you being a defender, it's always you're relying on the other 3 or 2 that you're playing with in the back line to be on the same wavelength as you, especially if you're getting bombarded in a game. You need that togetherness and everything. So, no, it's nice that you mentioned all centre-backs there. I think they don't get enough recognition sometimes for the work that they have to do. So, no, that's nice. I don't know if you collect any football memorabilia, but kind of, if you do, what is the best piece that you own?
I do have, like, I did collect shorts that I've played against certain people. I've got shorts of Man City players. I've got Bernardo Silva. I've got Zabaleta, who played for West Ham. I've got Stephen Ireland, who played for Stoke City at the time. I've got Dele Alli, who played at Tottenham. Ben White, I collected his short when he used to play at Newport, but I have his Brighton short. Jeff Hendrick, who's a good mate of mine, I have his Newcastle short and his Ireland short. I've just collected a lot of shorts along the way. Just because, again, I just see football as something now that it's about memories and to make the best memories as possible. And that's something that I try and tell a lot of people, is that you just have to make as much memories as possible, because it's all you'll have to look back on when it's all said and done and your football career is finished. You'll only have memories to look back on. So why not try and make the most and make the best one? So I have the short framed in my living room. The one where I scored the last minute goal for Newport, I have that framed in my living room. So I'm sure that would go down well if I was to try and sell that in Newport at some stage. But all stuff like that I just loved holding on to, because I just believe that when I have an opportunity to look back at things, I can always look back, and when you come out of football, you kind of forget at times that you've played football, because it's been so long and time just flies by. So when I get to look back at all the shorts and get to look back at certain things, I can kind of sit and like you say, have those proud moments to myself of thinking, I did that. Like, I'm glad I done that, and do you remember this time? And again, like you say, I know sometimes you say living in the past can be bad, but I think when you're living in the past for all the right reasons, and you're giving yourself that little bit of a kind of pat on the back of that little bit of a proud moment, then you have every right to do it, especially when you've gone out and done it.
100%. And I mean, a lot of footballers nowadays don't swap shirts after every game, so it's nice that you've got the variety of what you've said. Is, of course, when you look back, you've got all of them kind of shirts as kind of reminders of what you've actually achieved, who you've actually played against. So no, 100% agree with that. I've got one last question for you. It's, what is your gem of Derby? So if you went to Derby and you were kind of wanting to escape, or you just wanted to go to one place that kind of you feel at one, where would you go in Derby, or where would you take someone in Derby?
I think when I lived in Derby, I think there was a couple of places that we used to go, where, whether it was the town centre in the big shopping centre, used to go there a lot, and used to just sit in the coffee shop just right on the corner, just below where the cinema is. We used to go there a lot, and just sometimes you go to the food court and you just sit there and you people watch it, and you just kind of let the day pass you by, kind of thing. And used to always go there in Derby, and I think I can't really remember so many places in Derby, because if it was a night out that we used to go to Rebs, we used to go to loads of different places. I think back then there was like no 08 in Derby where we used to go out on nights out there and stuff, and there was always some really really good places and places that I'm fond of in Derby. But just Derby as a place, I used to just enjoy going into the town centre and just having a little stroll around and just walk around and just have a proper chill out time in the town centre, because that in itself was just something where, do you know what, it was just like that little bit of time to yourself where you could just relax and you could just like come away from a lot of different things. And I just think when I look back, like we never really got up to too much in Derby, because obviously when you're playing you can't really go out and enjoy yourself too much. But I think just Derby as a place was just somewhere where I'd always go, like we'd go into the town centre, we'd go to the cinema and different things like that, and that was just our little kind of get away from football like in itself.
No, I like that, and I mean, it's nice that you've got so many memories of Derby, of different things or different places that you went. So no, I appreciate that. Just to wrap up, where can people find you, find the book? Of course, you've got the talk tomorrow, so is there any availability if people want to still come to that?
Yeah, like if people still want to come to the evening, like there's a lot of availability to us, so that is something that people can really jump on and get involved in. I think like anybody and everybody can follow me through Twitter, can follow me through Instagram, and they can message me if they feel any like certain way. They can speak to me about anything, because I'm always open. And even for my book itself, there's a link on my Instagram to the website where they can get it, or you can easily get it off Amazon as well. It's something that is out there online, and it's something that I want so many people to read. So it's available on Amazon. Just like you say, everybody knows how easy Amazon can be nowadays. So I just think once it's on there, people can just click a button and get it delivered. So, but yeah, through Instagram and Twitters and different things that people can get in touch with me and reach out. Like, because as I said, I'm always open that if people need a chat, then I'm there.
No, thank you for coming on and sharing your story. And I hope that the book does really well and people actually get wind of it and share your story, and it gets out to as many people as possible. So thank you for coming on.
Lovely, thanks very much.
Want to know what's happening within Derby's black community? Or perhaps you have a story of your own to share? Then look no further than Majatu, your one-stop source for local African and Caribbean news. With our digital news platform and quarterly print magazine, keep up to date on all of the latest in arts, entertainment, food, sports and more. Find us online at mojatu.com.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Peeking into Success podcast. If you've enjoyed what you've listened to today and would like to listen to more, go and check out the previous episodes on our channels, and make sure you follow the page as well to keep up to date with the new exciting episodes that we've got upcoming for the rest of the year.